And one of his inspirations was
You can stay out here with us. On this past weekend, we were talking to the panel relative to what they have seen and what they would like to report to you. This is also being broadcast by Cheshire TV and WMUR Live, and there will also be a recording of this up on the city's website for anyone to view immediately after the press conference. This is a press conference. It is not meant to be a public forum, so the press will be invited to ask questions. My name is John MacLean. I'll be facilitating and calling upon those people as I can. We'd like to make sure that everyone gets a chance to have their question answered, but it's for the press here today. We anticipate a public forum for our citizens, our students, and others who might be interested will take place in early December. A date will be determined for that purpose. I'd like to introduce the panel that's with me here this afternoon. We have our Mayor, Ken Meola. We also have our Keene State College President Anne Huot, Keene Police Chief Ken Meola, and Colonel for the New Hampshire State Police, Robert Quinn. Others present here this afternoon, our Fire Chief Mark Howard, our New Hampshire State Senator Molly Kelly, City Councilors Randy Filio, City Councilor Jim Duffy, City Councilor Emily Haig, City Councilor Janice Manwaring, City Councilor Carl Jacobs, and I saw City Councilor Terry Clark. In addition to that, we also have Chris Acoyne, Major in the New Hampshire State Police. Chris is over here. And we have Jerry Moslin, a Lieutenant in the New Hampshire State Police. The Colonel may call upon them if he needs any additional information as he's speaking. Patty Little, our City Clerk, is here. Dale Pregent, former Mayor and City Councilor, is also in the audience here today. And we also have Amanda Guthorn, Director of Campus Safety for Keene State College. And our good Sheriff, Sheriff Eli Rivera for Cheshire County. Thank you, Sheriff, for being here. So we will start this press conference by asking these speakers to speak in the order that you see. We'll start with our police chief. We'll then go to the colonel. We will go to the mayor and then to the president. After they're done speaking, we will take your questions. We'll ask you to identify yourself, what affiliation you have, and then to tell me who you'd like to direct your question to, and we'll answer your questions in that way. Again, this is for the press. We know that there are other people here today who are interested citizens of Keene. You will have your opportunity at a later date to get into this conversation with us. So, with that having been said, Chief, would you begin, please?
Thank you. For the benefit of those who don't have the opportunity to have read or obtained the press release, I guess I'd begin by just chronologically running through this very quickly to give everyone a sense of what occurred and actions that were taken. So, on Saturday, October 18th, at approximately 1 p.m., this event really began. And it began with two large gatherings of folks estimated to be at approximately 1,000 each in each location at different locations near Keene State College off of Winchester Street, one on Wilcox Terrace and the other on Winchester Court. And what occurred with these gatherings initially, especially Winchester Court, there was some riotous behavior that was occurring on the property relative to a large gathering that occurred there. And that included throwing rocks and bottles at one another, and participants in that group were sustaining injuries as a result. And our response really was to try to break that gathering up to get medical services to those folks who were injured. There were a number of head injuries and lacerations as a result of people in the group being struck by bottles and rocks, being thrown by others in the group. And initially, we made an attempt to break that group up. At the same time, we were also getting reports of a large gathering on Winchester Court, as I noted, and it was the same behavior that was occurring. A number of these folks were entering backyards of private property. We were called by homeowners to get folks out of their yards and not gather. And upon our arrival, we were faced with the same type of behavior, people throwing rocks and bottles, now with the police who were responding to deal with it. So as reported injuries came in, medical personnel arrived to treat them and were finding it very difficult due to the behaviors that they were experiencing. The crowds were now directing their attention to law enforcement and other public safety officials. Initially, in order to clear the crowd, There was a dispersal of less lethal measures, namely OC spray, to try to get the crowd broken up so that those who needed medical attention would get it. And that because of the number of casualties that were starting to line up, the Keene Fire Department set up a mass casualty incident program in the vicinity of where this was occurring to provide quick and efficient care of individuals. It was reported they treated approximately 30-plus people. We're not clear on the exact numbers at this point. We know there were many more injuries than that, but those that were treated numbered at 30-plus. All of the injuries that we had seen were blunt force trauma from being struck by bottles, rocks, or other items. As police attempted to contain the crowd and then disperse it, it started to move through the neighborhoods there. It moved to the next street over, Butler Court. Same behaviors were occurring, moved off of Butler Court onto Main Street, and onto Winchester Street, I'm sorry, heading towards Main Street, and then it was really contained in the Blake Street, Winchester Street area. This went on for approximately 8 hours. Police were attempting to contain it, to keep it from heading onto Main Street. They were effective in doing so. Again, dispersal of OC spray, pepper balls, OC pepper balls were utilized to try to keep the crowd contained and to keep it from moving further than where we wanted it to protect further neighborhoods and to protect the Main Street. As this continued, the crowd's behavior continued with throwing items, those of which I've already mentioned to you, at the police. Police on the scene, the incident commanders on the scene called for additional assistance. We were able to call upon the New Hampshire State Police and other law enforcement agencies throughout the state to start coming to assist us to help contain this further. Starting after 8 hours, you can imagine, the officers on the scene were out there for a long time. They were starting to fatigue, so we got some reinforcements in from all over the state. We were able to contain it and eventually disperse it. Unfortunately, there was some damage that occurred on property on Blake Street. A fire was set in the middle of the street. Those on scene determined that it was not a threat to structures or residences in that area, so it was left to burn. And the police teams tried to push the crowds back behind the fire so that it wasn't a danger to them as well. I can tell you that leading up to this event, there was a collaboration of Keene State College, Police Department, the City Code Enforcement, Fire Department, the New Hampshire State Fire Marshal's Office. Let It Shine personnel had input into this as far as working with students and communicating with them to, be responsible, to have responsible parties, to do the right things. That messaging was reinforced weeks leading up to it. We worked with landlords who own some of these properties where we've seen large parties in the past. That message was well received by them as well. I feel that the collaboration that ensued and the messaging that got out was somewhat effective. We felt very good about it. And then unfortunately, we dealt with some of this riotous behavior from outside elements that unfortunately didn't receive the message. As a result of this incident, we know there was a number of damaged items, flipped car, Keene State College campus sustained some significant damage. The Keene Police Department, working with the state police, are committed to forming a task force, and along with working with Keene State College, to investigate these incidents and to bring to justice those we can identify for criminal behaviors they were involved in. And we'll be pursuing that into the near future here. We have anonymous tip lines at the Keene Police Department. We've encouraged people to go online and submit photos and information to assist us in that endeavor. We've also signed up with Large Emergency Event Digital Information Repository. It's leader, LEEDIR.us. That's a website that will allow folks to upload images from their smartphones or other devices into a cloud that will automatically get delivered to us here at the Keene Police for investigatory purposes. Keene State College also has a silent witness program that people can submit anonymously to. We would encourage folks to assist us in identifying those who were involved in riotous behavior, damaging others' property. I'd also like to note, we provided a list of all of those public service agencies, fire and police, and medical personnel that assisted us during this event. I won't go over every name, but I'd like to just mention and correct the fact that we left off the New Hampshire Fire Marshal's office and the Keene Public Works Department as we put those together. So thank you. I'll turn it over to the Colonel, and I'm happy to answer questions later.
Colonel.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'll be brief. I don't think I could give a synopsis of the events any better than the Chief just did. However, what I would like to say is, first and foremost, I would like to thank the Chief, thank the Town Manager, Mr. MacLean, the Fire Chief, the Sheriff, who's here today, and any others that were there that night. It was a tremendous effort by all, and the city of Keene should be very proud of their public safety team that they have. It was a very difficult night, a difficult event. I witnessed firsthand rocks, bottles, full liquor bottles, full cans of beer, billiard balls being thrown at police officers. The potential for injury, serious injury, was there, and we are lucky that nobody was more seriously injured than they were. And again, as they said, there were many, many injuries. But again, it is very hard to train and prepare and plan for an event like this, a crowd like this. So under the most extreme and challenging situations, I don't think it could have ended any better than it did that evening. I would like to point out, bringing all these resources together in a common cause like that to deploy, to respond and contain a crowd like that is challenging. And again, it's very hard to reenact and to train and prepare for. Just a few things that I think are important to note. We had special events response team, CERT team, that were there. We had other special units. We had members of our SWAT team there. Why? They had the Kevlar and they had the protective helmets. The helmets were a necessity with so many rocks and bottles being thrown. And getting struck in the head like one of those could be lethal in a second. The damage was disturbing. I think that's an understatement. The conduct was disturbing. I would like to thank myself, the business owners that opened up their businesses to assist us, the many students that came up to me and said how sorry they were, how disturbed they were, and thanked us for what we did. I want to thank those who behaved properly, and again, I think it's important to know that our job would have been that much more difficult without those in the community that lent a helping hand to us. My closing remarks are this is an active criminal investigation. I point you to the riot statute, RSA 644-1, you can see for yourself the penalties are very serious for this type of event. And again, we will bring whatever resources to bear that Chief Meola and the Keene Police Department need to identify and bring those to justice that committed these violent acts and misbehavior upon the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel. Mayor Lane.
Thank you, John. This was a horrible event that took place, and yet I want to start off by expressing my appreciation to those who responded to this incident on Friday and Saturday. That includes the Keene Police Department, the Keene Fire Department, the New Hampshire State Police, the tactical unit from the Central New Hampshire Special Operations, the Manchester and Nashua Tactical Unit, the New Hampshire Fire Marshal's Office, the Keene State Campus Security Office, as well as many of the small departments, the ambulance services, the individual small fire departments, and the individual police who responded to assist in resolving this incident. Their assistance controlled and dispersed these groups and kept the 55,000 to 60,000 people who were gathered in downtown Keene for the Pumpkin Fest safe and out of harm's way. So that was the primary goal, and that was successful. The question that has probably been asked me most frequently is, what is the future of the Pumpkin Fest? This community event has been held for 24 years, although in the past several years there has been increased difficulty in Keene from those who want to organize their own gatherings. It is far too early to determine what the future of the Pumpkin Fest is going to be. That is going to be the responsibility of the organizers and the Keene City Council as they assess the events of this year and the future of the festival and determine what that future is to be. I'm going to put together a public forum in December to hear from the public, to hear from the organizers, and to allow the information to be gathered, to allow the City Council to assess the future of the Pumpkin Fest. Finally, I want to thank Keene State College, which has closely worked with the city in controlling the incident that took place near their campus. We will continue to work with them to resolve this matter, and will continue to collaborate with them on many other issues of mutual concern that we have outstanding. So thank you all for coming, and at the conclusion of these statements, if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mayor. President Hewitt?
I too want to start by offering my sincere thanks for the partnership with the city, local and state officials, for everything that we did leading up to this event, everything we've done in the last 48 hours, and what we will do in the future together. I am gravely concerned about the unruly, unacceptable, unlawful, disturbing behavior that was displayed on the streets of our city on Saturday. I was out there, I witnessed it myself. We have to come together as a community and find a mutual solution to these issues. We cannot solve it individually or on our own. For my part, I take my responsibility in this very seriously. I want to reassure everyone that we are looking hard at the evidence we have. We're working with the police department. We have already identified some people from photographs. We're now trying to ascertain where they're from.